nearly 2,000 years ago, an entire Roman city was buried alive in a single day. Its people were frozen exactly where they fell, and there they stayed, hidden in the dark for more than 1,600 years. This is the story of Pompeii, and of the single day the sky itself turned to fire and ash. It is one of the most haunting disasters the world has ever recorded, and one of the most perfectly preserved. On the sunlit coast of southern Italy, in the shadow of a mountain called Vesuvius, stood the busy city of Pompeii. In the year 79 AD, Pompeii was a thriving Roman city, home to as many as 20,000 people. Its stone streets were lined with bakeries, bathhouses, taverns, and grand painted villas. Fountains splashed in the squares, chariots rattled over the stones, and on the walls people scratched love notes, insults, and jokes that still survive today. It was a city grown rich on wine, olive oil, and the warm Mediterranean sun. And above it all rose the green slopes of Vesuvius, its sides covered in vineyards and farms. But the people of Pompeii did not know that Vesuvius was a volcano. In their language, there was not even a word for such a thing. For generations, the mountain had slept. They built their homes on its rich, dark soil, and they never once feared it. There had been warnings. Years before, a great earthquake had cracked the city's walls and toppled its temples. In the final days, small tremors came and went, and the wells and springs ran dry. But the people shrugged it off, just as they always had. Then came the morning that would erase them from the world. It began like any other, warm and ordinary, with the markets opening and no hint at all of the horror to come. A little after midday, with a roar that shook the ground, the very top of Vesuvius tore itself apart. A colossal column of ash and rock blasted 20 miles up into the sky, slowly blotting out the sun. Far across the bay, a young man named Pliny watched the cloud rise. He was just 17 years old, and he would write the only eyewitness account of that day ever to survive. He wrote that the cloud rose like a great pine tree, a tall trunk that spread into branches high in the sky. At first, the people of Pompeii stared up in wonder at the strange and beautiful cloud. Then the sky began to fall. Pumice, light volcanic stone, rained down on the city in a choking gray storm, piling in the streets and on the rooftops faster than a man could ever sweep it away. Many people fled at once, clutching whatever they could carry, pouring through the city gates toward the sea. But thousands more stayed behind, sheltering indoors, praying that the terrible storm would soon pass. Through the long afternoon and into the night, the pumice fell without end. Roofs groaned under the crushing weight, and then began to collapse. By nightfall, Pompeii lay buried meters deep, and still the mountain raged on in the dark. Then in the black hours before dawn, the eruption changed. It became something far deadlier. The towering column of ash could no longer hold itself up, and it collapsed back down onto the mountain. Down the slopes roared a pyroclastic surge, a churning wall of superheated gas and ash. It came at 100 miles an hour, hotter than 300 degrees. There was no outrunning it, and nowhere left to hide. For everyone still inside Pompeii, death came in a single, merciless instant. There was no warning, and no time even to cry out. The searing heat killed them where they stood, faster than they could even feel it. Mothers and children, merchants and soldiers and slaves, all gone in the very same breath. Then the surge buried them all, sealing the city and every soul left within it beneath a thick blanket of ash. Across the bay, Pliny watched the darkness swallow the whole coast. He wrote that it was not the dark of night, but as if a lamp had been put out in a sealed room. His own uncle, the famous Pliny the Elder, had sailed his ships toward the disaster to rescue the trapped. He never came back. When Vesuvius finally fell silent, Pompeii was simply gone, buried beneath nearly 20 feet of ash and stone. The entire city had vanished from the face of the world. The few survivors who returned could not even find their own homes beneath the gray desert of ash. There were no streets, no fountains, no landmarks, nothing at all. In time, they simply stopped trying. Grass grew over the ash. Farmers planted their fields, and the very name of Pompeii slowly faded into legend. For more than 1,600 years, the city slept silently beneath the earth, perfectly preserved and forgotten, waiting in the dark to be found again. Then, in 1748, workers digging in the soil struck ancient walls, bright frescoes, and paved streets. Pompeii was awake again, after 16 centuries of silence, and what they slowly uncovered, room by room and street by street, would stun the entire world. The city had been frozen in a single moment of time. Loaves of bread still sat inside the bakers' ovens, blackened but whole. Wine jars still stood in the taverns. The paint on the walls was still bright. A meal sat half-eaten on a table, 2,000 years old. It was as if the people had only stepped out for a moment and might walk back in at any second. But the people had not stepped out. They were still there, hidden in the ash. As the buried bodies slowly decayed, they left hollow spaces in the hardened ash, perfect molds of their final shape. In 1863, an archaeologist named Fiorelli had a haunting idea. He poured liquid plaster into those empty spaces and waited. When the hardened ash was carefully chipped away, the plaster revealed the dead, exactly as they had died in their final desperate moment. A mother shielding her child, a man covering his face, a dog still chained, twisting in its final moment. Their faces, their clothing, even their expressions of fear, all preserved across 2,000 years. Over 1,000 of them have been found, each one a person caught in the final second of their life. Not statues, not legends, but real people, reaching out to us across 2,000 years. Strangely, many who died could have escaped, but they turned back. For gold, for loved ones, for the things they could not leave behind. If it were you, what would you have run back for? Tell us in the comments below.